are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, everybody? Gene Berardelli, Ross Galloway here. Ross, how you doing, pal?
Not bad, Gene. You pull it together during crunch time, man. I got to tip my hat to you, really.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm just very proud to say that after doing this for, I think this is like 6 months now that we've been back, Ross Galloway participated in show prep. So I had to pull in my A game to take the clips that he gave me to make sure that they're in the show today. So tip of the hat to you, my friend. I put in the effort because you put in the effort.
Gene, can we tell the truth? I literally sent him a link to a tweet, to an X post.
But that's all I ask. That's all I ask. If you're sending me things you want to talk about, I'll get them in there. It's no big deal. I love it. It takes the weight off my shoulders for putting together like a whole presentation here and stuff. So
I was getting nervous you weren't going to show up tonight, man. I was reading some of those JFK files, and there was a guy named Berardelli that was listed on one of the pages, and I was like, man, I hope there's no relation.
Interestingly enough, it was right next to this chick named Gallowitz, which is weird. So I don't know what's going on there. Everybody's got aliases now and changing their name and whatnot. I don't get it. All right,
Gallowitz, no relation to Galloway.
Yeah, just a little ribbon between friends here, a little inside baseball here. But I gotta say, listen, I know we're putting together a good show here, and it's gonna be fun. But I am pooped. The past couple of days have kicked my butt. I almost got into a fight with a judge today because reasons. If you want to talk about that, we can talk about that. But needless to say, let me say this. I had the court appearance was scheduled for 11 o'clock, and it's a big calendar because it was like a pre-trial conference part, and I'm like number 53 in a calendar of 60. And the judge I appeared in front of, somewhere either in New York, Long Island, or upstate, on the bench, older gentleman, but thought he was Judge Judy, just quipping comments and aspersions and characterizations, and making the appearances longer than they had to be. So I'm sitting there waiting for my turn, and next thing I look, it's 12:55, and I'm finally getting called up. And let's just say that I might have been a little short with him, but I gave as good as I got. Let's just say that. But yeah, People's Republic in New York City. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I hate judges.
It could be anywhere.
That's true. Judges at all levels. Look what these federal judges are doing. They all think that they're like God on a throne. Men in black robes, unelected. What they say goes. Nationwide injunctions. Being late to Berardelli's, pre-trial motion.
Well, I'm not so audacious to think that things must go, in a certain manner, but I do appreciate a little bit of civility and the jocularity and the familiarity, especially towards judges that appear regularly in this jurisdiction. It makes me roll my eyes, but
yeah, no, you're right.
But it's actually quite a good segue to a clip that Galloway asked me to get, and we're going to talk about that first and foremost. But before we get to this clip, I'm going to ask everybody, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows wherever you are, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Rumble, or X. Like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that really good stuff. And like the live stream if you're watching right now. It's going to help the show get out to a lot more people, and we can get a good conversation going in here. If you're here right now, hit us up in the chat, and we'll be happy to talk to you as well. So, speaking of pain in the ass judges, a federal court judge, I forget his name, and frankly, I don't want to even mention him or promote him, issued an order, a district court judge. For those of you who don't know, district court judges are the lowest in the federal system. Doesn't mean that they are not of esteem. It just means that they are the primary entry level into the federal judiciary. And that judge, while a flight of gangbangers was outbound, headed towards Venezuela, ruled that the federal government, the Trump administration, had to turn the plane around and bring these vicious and violent illegal aliens back to the U.S., pal. What do you think?
the goal, like, I don't understand, Gene, because like I'm not a lawyer, but I'm somewhat familiar with the Constitution, right? The executive branch under Article 2 gives the president pretty much full purview over foreign affairs, which this could fall under. The Alien Enemies Act, which if he declares an invasion, which he did, and deemed this subset of invaders to be a threat to national security, he can expel them from the country. So I just don't understand where a district judge somewhere in the country that was obviously venue shopped or judge shopped, like that the lefts like to do, they found a sympathetic judge who made a ridiculous order. And I know we have a clip, but the long and short of it is the judge made a verbal order to turn those planes around and bring them back. And there's an argument whether or not the verbal order was prior to them leaving, United States airspace. The administration saying by the time the written order was published or posted, that was clearly they were outside of United States airspace. There was, no legal justification to turn them back around. But I don't know what he thinks was going to happen. Like a DOJ lawyer was going to pick up the phone and call the Air Force and say, patch me through to the pilot and turn it around. Like, I don't know what they thought was going to happen that quickly. And why the rush?
Right. And let's just say a lot of people have opinions about this. Some people out there like Elon Musk calling for judges like this to be impeached, which prompted Chief Justice Roberts to speak out publicly about this, which to me, that's a complete and total mistake. The Chief Justice shouldn't have done that. I think that falls into a judicial no-no in the sense that he is prejudging the argument before it's even made at that point. And I don't think that, while I appreciate him wanting to protect his turf and protect, other judges out there, certainly not the right thing to do. And I think that was a misstep prompted by the backlash, which may be rightfully so. This is not a case I've studied too much, but I am willing to listen to both sides. And Ross, you gave me this clip of Stephen Miller appearing on Fox News reacting to Andrew Weissman from MSDNC, famous for being the second command in the Mueller investigation against Donald Trump. So not exactly the most neutral of opinions here on either side, but I'm sure between the two of us, we can piece together where the true issues lie. I think we're pretty good at issue spotting. So let's get to this clip right here.
Say this first from somebody who I know is not a favorite of President Trump. This is Andrew Weissman, who's a former top Mueller prosecutor. Of course, it's not a huge surprise that he didn't like this operation. He doesn't think it's legal under the act that you just mentioned, Stephen. Watch.
We're not at war with Venezuela. We're not at war with the gang that is the subject of the executive order. There is no invasion that is going on. And you also have to show that the people you're removing are actually part of that gang, even if there were an invasion or a war. And this statute may, in fact, be very unconstitutional.
So the judge.
All right, so let's leave it there. It seems like Weissman, on first blush here, just listening to his arguments, he doesn't get the modern concept of invasion and how wars have changed. We are now not at war with nation states most of the time. We're at war with international organizations, international terror organizations, like when we talk about going to war with the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. Those are international conflicts. And certainly when you have international bad actors like this coming to the country and causing crimes and arguably domestic terrorism, why shouldn't an act from the 1700s apply? After all, the Constitution is a document from the 1700s. That certainly still applies.
Yeah, and once again, Democrats are forced to take an extremely unpopular position. They are defending Venezuelan gang members who are charged with horrific crimes like rape, murder, and child sexual assault and exploitation. It's so bad that people like Charlemagne over on the Breakfast Club actually commented on this and said, like, I can't believe the Democrats are planting their flag here on this one. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, this is the hill that they want to claim. Good for them. Stephen Miller has some thoughts here, and I'm sure that you are going to be applauding this like crazy, right?
Fantastic. Stephen Miller is the way to do it, people. Listen up.
Well, I'm not prejudging. I haven't seen the clip. I just downloaded it and put it into the system here. So let's hear this.
Judge has to be convinced that these individuals aren't real. I mean, it's a huge group, and nobody's going to miss any of these people, but they're quantifiable. So can you prove that these individuals were linked with Tren de Aragua and that Tren de Aragua is part of a Maduro operation, Stephen?
So first of all, Andrew Weissman is an absolute moron. He is a moron, and he's a fool, and he's a degenerate. Andrew Weissman.
Okay.
A degenerate.
So just from a point of advocacy here, if this is the way you're going to start your argument, to me, it sounds like you might have a weak argument. I'm trying to be objective here. You know what side I fall on.
So before you play the rest, Gene, obviously Weissman, there's a history there.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
It's not so it gets better. He has substance here.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that this is the difference between a political argument and let's say a legal argument. The political argument, this might charge up your base. This might be considered red meat out there, but he's really not said anything substantively. I want to get to the substance, Stephen. Let me know what you're saying here.
Has devoted his career to putting innocent Americans in jail, taking away their civil liberties. He was involved in the Mueller coup against a democratically elected President Donald J. Trump. Weissman should never be on TV anywhere. He should hang his head in eternal shame for what he's done to this country. And now he's up there shilling for people who rape and murder Americans. That's who Andrew Weissman is. I met the mother of Jocelyn Nungary, Alexis Nungary, who President Trump honored at the State of the Union, named a national wildlife refuge after her daughter. Tren de Aragua terrorists took that 12-year-old angel and they tortured her to death. They sexually assaulted her. They stripped her and they dumped her body in a river. That's who President Trump has deported from this country. Behind every single one of those terrorists was another future rape victim, another future sex trafficking victim, another future murder victim. And most importantly, every one of those people was here illegally. They have no right to be in this country for 1 second longer. They are illegal aliens. They are foreign terrorists. They are alien enemies. And the law at the heart of this issue was signed in the founding generation of this country, the same generation that wrote our Constitution. People say, oh, it's an 18th century law. You know what else is an 18th century law? The Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights of the United States.
Hey, I said that. I'm pretty spot on. I haven't heard a substantive argument yet, though, Galloway. I appreciate the anger and I appreciate the fiery nature of Stephen Miller, even though some see it as off-putting. But he's choosing not to answer the question of where is, and these are baseline questions. I'm sure that we can prove it. Where is the proof that they are parts of this gang? Is there a connection to Maduro? I think as a matter of law, those are elements that have to be proven here, no?
If you looked up, I don't know if you've actually read the text of the law. It doesn't say you have to be at war with a country necessarily. That's like one clause, and then it followed by or an invasion and posing a threat to national security. So like that they check those boxes.
You make a good point. Let's look up the law and see what it says. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Let's see.
And was that the end of Stephen Miller?
No, it's not. We're going to go back to him, but I do want to take a look at the Alien and Enemies Act. Let's take a look at it. And in the meantime, guys, I see you guys are rolling into the video. Please leave a thumbs up and let us know what you're thinking in the chat if you want to, wherever chat you're in. All right, so you know what? Let me while that's loading up, let's let Stephen Miller finish here.
Founding generation gave us this law, gave President Trump this law to repel this invasion from our country.
I mean, there's
and it
no
was
higher...
all detailed in the proclamation, how this gang was sent here by a foreign government, and President Trump is sending them out of this country.
Well, we look forward to learning.
Okay, so that's the end of him right there. All right, so now I'm pulling up Okay.
So
Chapter
while
3.
you're looking that up, Gene, for anyone who wants to actually read the executive order, this was one of the best executive orders I've ever read, because every part of that executive order ties back in to the text of the actual law that they're using to deport these people. And it gives example after example of why it's complying with this law.
Okay, so I believe this is the proper section here. At least it's the start of it. You tell me if I didn't get the right one here, pal. But okay. Whenever there is a declared war between the United States and any foreign nation or government, or any invasion or predatory incursion is perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation or government, and the president makes public proclamation of the event, all natives, citizens, denizens, or subjects of the hostile nation or government being of the age of 14 years and upward, who shall be within the United States and not actually naturalized, shall be liable to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. Now, in that first sentence, pal, the invasion would have to be done by, let me just find the section here again. It would have to be done by any foreign nation or government. That might be the rub here. You would have to connect Tren de Aragua to the nation of Venezuela. Do you see what I'm saying there in that respect?
Yeah, so if you can, I'm trying to find it now as we speak. We need to pull up Trump's executive order where he does tie them. They fund Tren de Aragua. They participate in the Maduro government. They are intertwined. They are a Venezuelan gang. They're not a gang that spontaneously was popped up here. They came from there. And President Trump did declare an invasion from these countries.
Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to start sharing another screen. And this is, I believe, the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua. Let's take a look at what it says here. So Tren de Aragua, designated as a foreign terrorist organization, thousands of members, many of whom have unlawfully infiltrated the United States, operates in conjunction with Cartel de las Soles, the Nicolas Maduro regime-sponsored narco-terrorism enterprise based in Venezuela. It's right there in the first paragraph. Paragraph 2, as I'm scanning through. Tren de Aragua is closely aligned with and indeed has infiltrated the Maduro regime, including its military and law enforcement apparatus. This has to be backed up, I'm sure, by State Department and DOD and other national security agencies, all those, alphabet soup organizations. Tren de Aragua soon significantly, while Tariq El Asiami served as governor of Aragua between 2000. Oh, he has chapter and verse here. I agree with you, pal. Like Asami, Nicolas Maduro, who claims to act as Venezuela's president and asserts control over the security forces and other authorities in Venezuela, also maintains close ties with regime-sponsored narco-terrorists. So they wouldn't be saying this if they couldn't back it up, pal. I do concede that point. So therefore, the part of the Alien Enemies Act that we just referenced would be fulfilled, presumably, if the United States government can show this connection between Maduro and Tren de Aragua.
But if you read the actual law again, nowhere in there does it say that these people need to be brought before a court. It's all at the discretion of the president. Now, there's some questions whether or not that's constitutional, but it's never been challenged. It's full discretion of the president to declare the invasion and to determine who is under it and who gets deported and how, and detained for how long.
Right, you're absolutely right. And moreover, the president is authorized in any such event by his proclamation thereof or other public act to direct the conduct to be observed on the part of the United States towards the aliens who became so liable, the manner and degree of the restraint to which they shall be subject, and in what cases, and upon what security their residence shall be permitted, and to provide for the removal of those who, not being permitted to reside within the United States, refuse or neglect to depart therefrom, and to establish any other regulations which are found necessary in the premises and for the public safety. It gives the president very wide-ranging abilities, as you think a president would have in the event of a foreign invasion. It seems to be pretty logical to me.
Yeah, I mean, even if there was going to be a question, to be brought before the courts, I find it hard to believe that a district judge can just unilaterally tell the executive branch to turn planes around and bring people back until a district court judge makes a decision. Like, that to me is insane. Let it work its way through the process, and eventually it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court, right? Like, this is clearly a constitutional issue. On its face, it looks like he's obeying the law. If there's a question as to whether or not that law is in fact unconstitutional, well, then I'm pretty sure it's going to go over to the Supreme Court. And what are we just going to do? Allow an invasion to happen in the meantime?
Right. I mean, the whole point of the law is to give the president the powers and the ability to act swiftly in the face of a foreign invasion. And I think this judge, I hate when these federal judges make these decisions out of their portion of a judicial district that then apply nationwide. We saw a lot of this during the lawfare of the first Trump administration as well. There's got to be a way to get these decisions moved up the ladder quickly, which stays of enforcement unless and until it gets affirmed or overturned later on. Go ahead.
Which, by the way, you had mentioned what Chief Justice Roberts said when he opined on whether or not some of these judges should be impeached. And yes, he did overstep, not only for the reason you mentioned, where he's like prejudging a case. First of all, impeachment, as we have been educated by the Democratic Party in Trump's first term, is a political process carried out by the Congress. It has nothing to do with the court system, right? The Chief Justice actually presides over the hearing in the Senate, but he has no real role, right? He's just there. So he should have never mentioned that. And if Chief Justice Roberts really felt strongly about what he is saying, there is a fix. There's two ways to do it, really. Congress can pass a law limiting jurisdiction and certain aspects of what the court can and cannot do, or the Supreme Court can give guidance to district courts on nationwide injunctions and other things that affect the entire nation coming out of a part of a district somewhere in Washington, like near Washington, D.C., right? And he's not doing that. They have not done that. Just like there's another one, I don't want to go too far off track here, but there's another injunction against the United States military, the DOD, because there's a ban on transgendered service members. So they're going to stop that. So, like, I saw a funny post earlier today. So, like, when is a federal district court judge going to say the military has to hire 80-year-olds with no legs to be in the military too? Like, that's clearly an Article 2 function, right? Congress makes laws. They can raise an army, and then the president is the commander in chief. Where is the court system in the military, right? The Supreme Court needs to step in on a lot of this stuff and straighten out their lower courts. Damn,
he really did do show prep today. I'm impressed. That was a great presentation of the powers that can be enacted here. I think at this point, Congress needs to act to sort of corral these federal district court judges from these nationwide TROs and provisional remedies that they love to grant under Donald Trump. And to be fair, it happened under Biden as well. I don't think that should happen at this point. There's got to be a mechanism within our legislature to limit the powers of these provisional remedies. They got to go back into they got to go back to Civ Pros, got to go back to civil procedure class, go through the federal rules of civil procedure, and figure out the powers that the court has to grant these provisional remedies when it comes to restraining the federal government from using constitutional powers. I don't have the solution to that, but there's got to be that discussion, especially now in these next 2 years when you have Trump, the House, and the Senate all working together.
Well, there's also got to be repercussions, right? Like, okay, you can say impeachment might not be okay for federal judges. I disagree with that. I understand the high crime and misdemeanors aspect of an impeachment and a removal, but what other recourse is there? Let's say you have and we do. You have lots of rogue federal judges that do not believe in reading the Constitution. They just believe in doing whatever the left kind of like brainwashed them into believing. So what is the repercussion? They have lifetime appointments. So during good behavior, what is good behavior? If they're not following the Constitution and they're overturned consistently or they're overstepping their bounds, I think impeachment should be on the table for federal judges, or we need to amend the Constitution to create some other mechanism where they don't serve for lifetime tenure. That's crazy.
Well, there are ways that other nations deal with their judiciaries that are kind of interesting. For instance, when I went to South Korea, and I had to handle a case in South Korea for a couple of weeks, a couple of years back, and I found that what they do, because they're such a smaller country than us, is they actually rotate their judges out in certain year terms, from being a lower court judge to an appellate court judge to even going to their constitutional court. And they rotate them around and through. And then they also have mandatory retirement at 65. So those are just some examples of how at least one of the place does it. I just appeared before an octogenarian judge who loved to hear himself speak for hours. I don't know if he should still be hearing cases, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's not a perfect system, to be perfectly honest, but Trump and Republicans have an opportunity here to sort of fix that system going forward. Whether they do or not remains to be seen. But at least in this particular case, the battleground being set up here is going to be about the application of a law from the 1700s and how it would apply to a modern 21st century problem when it comes to geopolitical interactions, international relations, and this new sort of warfare that we have, where it's not necessarily nations that are at war, but factions are at war involved with nations, and it gets much stickier than the law contemplated back in the 1700s.
It certainly does. Yeah, I mean, you're right, and it should work its way through the courts. But in the meantime, like the Constitution is not a suicide pact type of thing. Do we just allow an invasion until something works its way through the appellate system? Like, that's what a lot of judges say. Like, oh, well, we'll just have to, let it work its way through. We don't fast track everything to the Supreme Court. I don't know. I think the Supreme Court should have original jurisdiction on anything that is a constitutional issue that could affect the whole country.
Well, here's the thing. Let's talk about the ramifications of, the stay and the provisional remedy that was granted here. It's not like these people are going to be let out of whatever holding they're in. They're going to remain in if I don't even know if the plane did turn around, but let's say it did. Plane turns around, returns back to the United States. It's not like these people are put back into the world. They're not put back into our cities, our neighborhoods. They're still being held. We're bearing the cost of holding them. And maybe that's something that should be addressed here. But it's not like the ramifications are that there's anything immediate that must be done. There's no there's an emergency, but there's no impending doom. There's no actual significant emergency.
I would disagree, Gene, because we don't know, were they detained prior to them getting on that plane, or were they scooped up recently because of their affiliation with TDA? If they weren't pending any other charges and they didn't have a deportation order through the normal immigration process, then there might not be any legal means to hold them. Well, you might have to release them back into the street.
That's not true, because as we learned with the case of Mahmoud Khalil, you don't necessarily have to have committed a crime in order to be detained pending a deportation proceeding. So the only prejudice here is the cost of detaining, and many jurisdictions, including here in New York, say that irreparable harm or any sort of pending emergency cannot be money. You see what I'm saying? So I think they're still going to be able to be held, and I think that the only thing that this is costing us is money and time. And it's certainly frustrating going forward.
Well, side with them on that 80-20 issue. 80% of the people believe what I believe.
Oh my, wait, whoa. Back it the fuck up here, Galloway. Just because I am for the rule of law doesn't mean that I'm siding with terrorists. All right?
Rule of law. So you were a Jack Smith fan, rule of law? Get out of here.
Why would that be rule of law? The judge ruled that what he was saying was not consistent with the rule of law. So now
What who was saying? Jack Smith? Jack Smith had cases all around the country.
Yeah, and what happened with him?
They only got overturned because Trump won. He would still be facing charges in D.C. right now if he lost.
No, didn't Judge Cannon in Florida dismiss?
But she
the main case?
was seen, and she dismissed the classified documents case in Florida and didn't do a nationwide thing. It was only in her district where he was found to be an unconstitutionally appointed special prosecutor. Everywhere else, he was still credentialed.
I'm an optimist. It was only a matter of time before all those cases fell by the wayside. But that's not what we're here to talk about right now. Yeah. I'm going to try to do a little bit of a transition out of this because we are at halftime here on the show. And I want to say to everybody watching right now, thanks for tuning in to Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Gene. He's Ross. I'm so glad that you're here checking this out, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Rumble, on X Live. If you're watching us on replay, wherever you are, please subscribe to the channel. We do a lot of great videos here. Pretty much all week we do shorts. We do, short segment videos that are pre-recorded. We do the live stuff just like this. So check us out. We got a lot of content for you guys to share. You can also check us out at buffoonoftheweek.com, where we write blog posts that supplement these videos. If anything pops up after the video that we talk about, we'll put it into a blog post article. You can always check it out there, and you can comment both on videos, on the blog posts. There's so many different ways to interact with the show, but probably the best way to interact with us is to head on over to shop.buffoonoftheweek.com. We got merch like my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, which is a #1 Amazon bestseller. It was a #1 Amazon new release, and is currently being featured on the website of the New York Public Library, by the way, right now for spring 2025. You can check that out at the store. There's other merch there. There's glassware. There's different shirts and apparel and jackets and things like that. We have a whole line of less government, more fun stuff as well. Shop.buffoonoftheweek.com for those needs as well.
And by the way, Gene, let me throw out Galloway's tech tip of the week for you guys. I was not always a big fan of subscribing to channels because I would get like 1,000 emails. But what's cool about subscribing is you can actually just turn off the notifications. And then we'll only appear in your feed when you're scrolling around on YouTube or Rumble, but you won't get those annoying emails. So tech tip of the week. Subscribe.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that to us. You do it to every other channel, but don't do that to us. Keep those notifications on your phone.
We can be honest here. If you subscribe to a bunch of channels, your email's filled with nothing but YouTube emails, right? So, yeah, if you want to get notified by us, cool. But if not, subscribe. We'll come up in your feed. That's good enough for me.
He's actively working against me. God damn it. All right. Well, you know what? We're going to move on.
You'll see how numbers will go up now. People will subscribe and mute.
Well, I mean, listen, I hope it's the Miracle on 34th Street honesty pitch that you gave, and then people will appreciate that. Instead of shopping here at Macy's, go over to Gimbals, and you can get whatever you need over there. Oh, thank you so much. You're so helpful. Yes, I just compared Galloway to Santa Claus. Oh, boy. So, we got to talk about Chuck Schumer.
My hero.
And your hero, my hero, everyone's hero. The Democrats have their knives out for Chuck Schumer. I posted a short video today, and man, there's so many other videos I didn't upload for this segment that I'm going to have to do on the fly here, but it doesn't matter. As we all know, Chuck Schumer was talking really tough last Wednesday about a government shutdown unless the GOP backtracked on their own CR that passed through the House. They get their own continuing resolution to keep the government funded. Democrats, including Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer at the time, wanted what they called a clean CR that would extend the government to April 11th to allow for more negotiations to go forward. In less than 24 hours after that, Chuck Schumer just completely flip-flopped, and there was no apparent reason for it. And ever since then, Democrats in media, in government, celebrities all around have been really going after Chuck Schumer in a way that has never happened in his entire career. There are so many of them that I had to put together a montage to show you guys exactly what I mean. And this is only a couple of them. Take a look at this, pal, and tell me what you think when we're done. Knives are out for Chuck Schumer ever since his government shutdown flip-flop.
Okay. Go.
Dems don't just have a messaging problem; they got a leadership problem. The Chuck Schumers of the world, like, how can you say the bill sucks, but you're passing it anyway? Like, you're not going to even try to, present something different, try to negotiate, nothing?
Shots fired.
The idea that Chuck Schumer is the only one that's got a brain in the room and the only one that can think through all of the pros and cons is absolutely ridiculous.
You're stupid.
Is it time for new leadership in the Senate?
Next question.
It gives me no pleasure to say this to you because we are friends, but I think you caved. I don't think you showed the fight that this party needs right now.
Betrayal!
What happened in the 24-hour period? I'm not sure.
You hung me out to dry.
Did Schumer get anything from Republicans in exchange for those Dem votes?
He did not.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Have you lost confidence in him?
Next question.
There may be honor among thieves, but there's none in politicians.
That's just a summary of all the shit being thrown at Chuck Schumer right now.
It was a small sampling because AOC attacked him. Nancy Pelosi attacked him. Nancy Pelosi said, I would never just cave without getting something. And most interesting to me was Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, threw a few jabs at Chuck Schumer and said that if he was running the show, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, that he would have at least gotten 3 or 4 things to change his mind and make that vote. Now, because we have a corrupt media, obviously the next follow-up question would have been, okay, Josh, governor, what are the 3 or 4 things you would have demanded be inserted into this bill, right? Because Democratic policies are extremely unpopular. So I don't even know what Chuck Schumer's argument would have been to get that. What I do want to say this, though, Gene, if you look at the makeup of that group of individuals you played, what I love the most, honestly, is that the Democratic Party is eating its own, and they've gotten through like the heterosexual white male who still has some testosterone left in him. Now they're going towards like the old white guy Jews who have no place in the Democratic Party anymore either. Chuck Schumer's gone. Josh Shapiro, you already got bypassed for VP. Your road in the Democratic Party is short too. Trust me when I tell you, Gene, they're eating their own. The white old Jewish dudes are next on the hit list for them.
Well, and that's why people like Josh Gottenheimer are leaving Congress, and he's running for like governor of New Jersey. But it wasn't all bad news for Chuck Schumer. He did have people speaking up for him, including President Trump on Truth Social. And I want to show you this clip from, I think it was from State of the Union on CNN with Jake Tapper, when Scott Jennings had this to say.
See, is the dynamic going on here? Is it generational? Why are Jeffries and Schumer on such different pages?
Well, because first of all, I just want to say I'm grateful for Chuck Schumer today. He helped defeat a racist Jim Crow filibuster in the Senate.
He's been listening to Galloway too much.
Brilliant.
The trolling here is just epic. It's so good.
And to stand up against the racist Jim Crow filibuster tactics was a moment of pure courage. And I just think he should be lauded by anybody in any party for that. That's number one. Number two.
It's a deep cut. Let me just explain for people at home.
I'm just saying.
When there was a Democratic push against the filibuster, people in the Democratic Party were saying it was a racist era, Jim Crow era.
And it was
tactic, the filibuster. So he's being cheeky.
And not only that, but he saved us from the Democrats in the House, laying off every single veteran in the federal government. Chuck Schumer, working with Donald Trump, saved us from that. So I think he deserves a lot of credit this morning.
Scott,
every veteran would have been laid off. Every veteran would have been laid off.
Scott.
Gene, tell me that wasn't brilliance.
The troll
using
level
their own
of
tactics against them.
And by the way, I know you keep saying Scott Jennings, why are you on CNN? He also just recently signed an extension to his contract. At least that's the word. But yeah, I mean, troll level 9 out of 10. I very rarely give 10 out of 10. That's 9 out of 10 right there. The way he set it up, the way he executed it, the way they all just jumped on him at the end for saying that Schumer was working with Trump to a better end here. Isn't that what we want? Don't we want bipartisanship in our government working together?
I don't. I'll tell you what the irony is here, Gene. Oh, first of all, the Republicans did do a good job, probably for the wrong reasons, but they did do a good job of messaging that this would be the Schumer shutdown if it happened, right? And at first Schumer owned it, and then he collapsed, obviously. Where I said they might have done it for the wrong reasons is what most people don't understand is that your actual conservative Republicans that want real change are not happy with continuing resolutions. And that's all this is. This is keeping Biden-era spending levels. They just keep going for another 30, 60, 90 days, whatever that CR was for. So what did the Republicans really win? We failed to shut down the government. I'm a fan of shutting down the government, right? If you shut down the government, first of all, it makes Doge's job much easier. Elon's not even taking a paycheck, so I don't even know if it would affect him. But the president would decide which functions are essential and keep those going until Congress does their damn job and passes an actual budget. We shouldn't be in this situation. Republicans, who have had the House now for quite some time, where all spending bills originate, have failed to pass a budget yet again. So look, Speaker Johnson's doing a good job. Okay, we got a continuing resolution to not shut down the government. I'm not super excited about it. We have the same spending levels that Biden had. That's not good.
Well, you also have a much different philosophy of government than most of America does. And I kind of like your philosophy of government. And correct me if I'm wrong. You want it to be hard to pass new laws and regulations on the American people. You want the Congress to be deadlocked and to not act as much as it does, even in levels now with there is this greater divide, because it should be hard to pass a new law. It should be hard to gain consensus. It should be hard to pass laws that everyone agrees are needed. Did I get that right?
You're 100% right. And what is the most important law that Congress has to pass or is supposed to pass every year?
A budget.
A budget. That is the most important law. So every time Congress, and Republicans are guilty of this, they go on TV and they hold these hearings and they're passing laws about nonsensical things that maybe are important to some people, but not really important to the whole country. They still fail to do their number one function, is to fund the government. That's the most important law they have every year, and they have not done it for decades. It's just insanity.
Yep. Christie's in with a comment, Ross. Shorter bills, table for 2 week public view. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm a fan of shorter bills as well, right? Because the more first of all, if you read Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, the enumerated powers, Congress should only be making a few laws, right? There's not much that they're supposed to really be doing. So a lot of this stuff, when they start going down into like car emissions in across the country, like that's not even something they really have the power to do. We have a government agency called Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Those three products are legal products. What is the government doing with that agency and passing laws regarding those products? It's insane.
No, I certainly hear you on that. And I'm a big fan of small government as well. And again, we have the opportunity, and this is a running theme from the last segment, that we have an opportunity with control of the presidency, the House, and the Senate to start passing those laws that are common sense and I think maybe right some wrongs from past administrations in repealing regulations, in repealing some of the more onerous legislation that invades our everyday lives. And I don't know if there's a Doge equivalent to that in our government, but someone should be looking at a lot of these laws and regulations and looking at what can be cut and what was too much of an overreach by the federal government.
Yeah, and like this is gonna be like a total
pie in the sky, though, pal. But it's pie in the sky.
It's pie in the sky. Like one fix would be to amend the Constitution again and get rid of the popular elected senators. Right, when states appointed senators, you had a much better government. Right now, it's a popularity contest. They're just like supersized representatives from the House of Representatives, the senators. Right now, the majority of states are controlled by Republicans. The majority of the Senate should always be Republican unless something radical happens, because those senators should be appointed by Republicans, right? It's just insane what's going on right now, man. And the 60-vote threshold in the Senate, I say it every week, eliminate the filibuster. Then Chuck Schumer is a moot point. It doesn't matter what the hell he says or the Democrats say, because when they get power, they are going to do it. And it's good that I say it every week, because it won't be hard to find this clip. It's every show I tell you this.
A moot point. It's a cow's opinion.
Moot.
I know. I'm kidding around with you. Friends popped into my head with that one. We can keep talking about Chuck Schumer if you want to, because even though, the Democrats are out for him, and of course the Republicans are trolling him, he's still Chuck Schumer. And he still said, you can tell in this respect anyway, when Democrats going after him, he's not happy. He called the decision to flip-flop like he did within 24 hours a Hobson's choice. That was a no-win situation for him. Because on one side, he's given Trump everything he wants. On the other side, he may be responsible for a shutdown. And it certainly seemed that way. There was some polling out there that said that the majority of Americans would put a government shutdown and blame it on Trump. But I don't believe polling like that anyway, especially when it comes out that quickly on the heels of an impending shutdown. But after the Schumer flip-flop, he went on MSDNC to try to explain away his reasoning for voting for the CR, for voting for cloture, and allowing Trump to get everything he wanted without pushback.
The conflict on the best ground we have, summed up in a sentence, that they're making the middle class pay for tax cuts for billionaires. It's much, much better not to be in the middle of a shutdown, which to divert people from the number one issue we have against these bastards, these people, which is not only all these cuts, but they're ruining democracy.
He went back to the old canard of ruining democracy, those bastards, those MAGA bastards.
Bro, is there an ounce of testosterone left in the Democrat, other than the transgender congressman on the Democratic side? Do the Democrats have any men left? I mean, does that strike you as a leader, Chuck Schumer?
I mean, this is going to sound controversial, but Jasmine Crockett is quite feisty. She's quite pugilistic.
And dumb, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, not Ilhan Omar, what's her name? Rashida Tlaib. She's got a lot of vim and vigor and fight in her. I think maybe a lot of the Democrat women have too much testosterone, and a lot of the Democrat men don't have enough.
Can you qualify a statement you made earlier? And I don't know if you were quoting someone else, but Donald Trump got everything he wanted. What did he get? He got Biden's budget again for a few more months.
Right.
So
well,
what did he get with this CR?
To clarify what I said is that he got everything he wanted in the sense that this was a Republican-authored CR with no Democrat input, and Schumer allowed it to go through without any Democrat input. And maybe one of the things he did in doing that was because of what you said, that this is a Biden-esque budget that is continuing on, so it's sort of status quo. I can elaborate further if you want me to about what Trump got from the CR, but I think your point is well taken. I think your point is well taken. That
this was in fact,
it's a continuing resolution. It continues on. Yeah.
Yes, this was in fact a grand compromise, right? Because the Republicans could have said, you know what, we're not doing a CR. We've got our budget drafted with all the cuts that Doge has identified, and that's what we're putting out there. And that's it. Eat it or we shut down the government.
So to be clear, what Trump got out of the CR is that it trimmed non-defense spending by about $13 billion from the previous year and increased defense spending by about $6 billion. There are changes within the margins, though. It's not like big changes. I know they sound like big numbers, but there are changes in the margins when we're talking about a $1.7 trillion budget here. So that's the major takeaway from it. And it also looks like, I think from an optics standpoint, Trump wins with no resistance from the Democratic leadership, which makes him look like the adult in the room, right? It makes him look like he is in firm control of this government. So from an optics standpoint, he certainly won.
Yeah, and I mean, Chuck Schumer is in an impossible situation because he is as far left as you can get, really. But somehow he's being attacked from the left, which is fantastic. Right? Like they're going further left, which is almost unbelievable when you think about it. Like, although you have to go one layer deeper in a lot of cases. Like AOC attacked Chuck Schumer. AOC also attacked Mayor Eric Adams. Why? Why all of a sudden does she hate those two Democrats in particular? Because she's looking for her next job.
Well,
mayor or senator, she's running for one of them.
And there are rumblings about possible primaries for Chuck Schumer now. It was in the clip. James Clyburn in the talking to MSNBC, and I'll put it into post production here. He said that at a Democrat retreat in Virginia over the weekend after the Schumer flip-flop, that there was rumblings and discussions about people primarying Chuck Schumer. Interesting, but I don't think it's going to create an opportunity for a Republican, but whatever. I mean, we're never going to, the state's doomed for that. But it does put Trump firmly in the driver's seat of the government at this point. And that's nothing bad about that.
Until some random federal judge says the CR is unconstitutional, hold all funds.
Yeah, could you seriously? Well, listen, I got one last topic before we get to final thoughts, and this is something I pulled up last minute, so I'm kind of springing it on you. Have you seen this video that was going around on social media from the Democrats? It's called "Choose Your Fighter," with a lot of Democrat women posing in fighting poses a la Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter 2 in the option screen.
You need to do a viewer discretion is advised for this, because this is so bad that it's so cringy. I know like that word is overused nowadays, but it is bad. This is bad.
Okay, so there's two different clips I want to show you, both from CNN, both involving Abby Phillip. This is the initial reaction from CNN. Now, keep in mind, this is CNN giving this reaction. And even CNN is embarrassed for the Democrats.
More cringy from there when several congresswomen appeared in this influencer's video.
No. I can take all of them. That's all I'm going to say.
By the way,
I'm intimidated.
For those of you guys watching, go look this video up again. I don't know how many times we can play it because we're running out of time. But if you notice one thing about this, obviously it's horrible. Every one of them takes a fighting position with their left hand as if they were lefties. I find it hard to believe they're all left-handed. None of them have their strong arm back. None of them know a proper fighting stance. None of them. Choose your fighter.
I happen to be lefty, so I do like this, but...
Yeah, look at all of them. They're all lefties too, I guess. All of them.
Well, they're all lefties. But
yeah, sure.
That's what it is. Let's get the CNN reaction.
So look, I mean...
That was not fair. We can't be that bad. That makes the whole party look
I didn't even ask you a question. I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, nobody asked for that in particular. And I also just think it's like you start with all the chaos of the different responses at the joint address, and then you have this like super sober Elisa Slotkin response, and then a couple of days of just all this random social media.
They clearly don't have an idea of what to do. They have had at least months to prepare, at least since the election, to start preparing. This is weak. This is not the way we should be responding. This does not give the country any confidence that there is an opposition to this. I actually think Al Green had the right idea. If we think that he's a dictator and we're moving in an authoritarian direction, then we should be standing up. But then to have Democrats vote to censure him for shame. As
And they got a little off topic there, right? But I bring up this video to show you the next video because there's still Democrats defending this video, and it happened timely. It's timely because it happened this week, and of course, our troll in chief Scott Jennings, he had some thoughts as well. So I don't know if you saw this one, pal, but check this out.
You're going to get criticism, right? But I actually applaud them for trying to do something different. And here's the reality. 7 million followers, whether you think it's cringe or you like it, we're on CNN on a Thursday night, and we're talking about it on national TV.
So it got like 7 million views or something like that. Most, of course, not the kind of views you want. But this woman saying, hey, well, at least they're trying, which is the typical participation trophy answer from the left. But here comes Scott. I'm going to let you talk in a second, pal. I know you're chomping at the bit. Here comes Scott now.
But I guess my question is, to what end? I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I mean, maybe you will get 7 million eyeballs, but what is the point?
I am not accustomed to helping your party do anything.
Yep.
But let me give you some advice. This was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And if you read the comments today, Lord have mercy. Look, scrambling for new social media and communication strategies is not a replacement for fixing what's actually wrong. Your party has a 21% approval rating right now, congressional Democrats.
Well, let's talk about fixing what's wrong. Donald Trump is doing nothing for the American people.
And he has a 50% approval rating.
But he's doing nothing for the American people.
And so
he's not lowering the cost of living. He tells lies.
Fix the policy and leave the gimmicks behind.
Yes, and let's fix policy.
Okay.
He's giving them advice.
Bro, that was great. I love when Abby says, nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for this. What? More importantly, I think Scott was trying to get to this, and that woman, I don't even care what her name was, proved his point. What are they even fighting? What is the fight? Like, what? Trump, and we say this I say this all the time at least, Trump's not a real conservative Republican, right? He likes to fashion himself as like a common sense guy. So, like, what are they fighting? They're fighting common sense. That's why they take the 20% side of every 80-20 issue. It's really astonishing when you think of it. None of them ever have substantive, like, stances. They're dancing around saying, we're your fighters. Okay, well, tell me what you're fighting. When Josh Shapiro said Chuck Schumer should have gotten 3 or 4 things. Okay, what 3 or 4 things? Tell us what you actually stand for. But they can't. Because not only don't most of them stand for anything, the few that actually stand for stuff is shit that Americans hate.
The 80-20, like you keep saying. Absolutely right. But when you have CNN clowning you and you have their commentators going, oh, God, to stunts that you're pulling, it shows you how far the party collectively has fallen. Collapsing like a flan in a cupboard, man. Just completely down in the mud at this point.
Yeah,
so,
we've gotten our hopes up many times in the past. I'm not sure how the Democrats pull out of this debt spiral they're in. I'm sure they will, and I'm looking forward to see how they do it. But all signs are pointing that they're going to go deeper. It's going to get worse before it gets better for them. I don't know what they're going to do to get out of this.
And that's the signal we got from the whole Chuck Schumer reaction that we're seeing this whole weekend and past week right now. So you're absolutely right. You said it's getting late, my friend. So final thought time here on the show. I'm going to let you go first because mine's a little more involved, and I'll show you why in a second. So go ahead.
All right, good, because mine's not that long. I don't know if you saw the video of Senator Mark Kelly he sold his Tesla. By the way, there's like terrorists all over the country burning Teslas and threatening Elon's life. All right, but we'll put that to the side.
Who, by the way,
so Senator Mark Kelly goes on.
Who, by the way, just rescued astronauts from a space station.
Yeah, they were in space for 9 months, but listen, they were in space for 9 months, but the male astronaut had a clean shave and a good haircut before he came back. Okay, I don't want to go down conspiracy theory lane.
Okay.
That was a little weird.
I clearly didn't mean to go that way, but go ahead.
But Senator Mark Kelly sells his Tesla. He goes on social media and he's bragging about buying an American-built, gas-guzzling SUV. Wrong for so many reasons, right? The left has told us for years, notice they don't talk about it much anymore, but they've told us for years that climate change is an existential threat. And I always ask the question, do they know what that word means? Because if climate change truly is a threat to our very existence, then why would he sell an electric car and buy a gas-guzzling SUV? Why? Because it's a hoax and they're full of shit. That's my final thought.
All right. Well, my final thought is inspired by Ross Galloway, who has said many times on this show, Trump 2024, Trump 2028, Trump 2032, and going forward and going on. Well, apparently, I underestimated the influence of Mr. Galloway because I saw this clip circulating the interwebs featuring Steve Bannon talking to Chris Cuomo on News Nation.
I'm a believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now. He's on fire, and I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
And obviously, anybody who doesn't like what you say but judges it as a function of a lack of intelligence doesn't know anything about you. I don't make that mistake. You're a smart guy. Oh, you know he's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it. I think we'll have. I think
we're working on it.
Yes.
Wait. There's more. So here's his answer.
We'll have a couple of alternatives. Let's say that. We'll see. We'll see what the definition. We'll see what the definition of term. We'll see what the definition of term limit is.
All right. Well, so you're talking about litigating this issue because I don't want people to listen to our interview and say Bannon's cooking up an insurrection. Bannon is cooking up. You know what I mean? I want people to get a straight take on where your head is. What are you suggesting?
Chris, as you know, I've had greater long shots than this. When we supported President Trump after the election, I realize you don't believe the election in 2020 was stolen. We do. We fervently believe that. When President Trump went back to Mar-a-Lago on January 20th, 2021, he was the longest of long shots to return to the White House. We said that day in our podcast and doubled down having President Trump's back, that he was coming back not just to win the primary, he would win the White House, and we had to get organized and drive that victory and also start working on all the policies, what's called Project 2025 or the America First Policy Institute, but all those different think tanks that started putting in the policies that you're seeing today in what we call Flood the Zone or Days of Thunder or however you want to describe it. But this is many years in the making. So we've had greater long shots than Trump 2028, and we've got a lot of stuff we're working on there. We're not prepared to talk about it publicly, but in a couple of months, I think we will be.
So,
Gene, before you go, I love you. Thank you. That's all.
You want to love me more? I got something else for you. I got another gift for you here. I now present to you for your inspection and consideration the Third Term Project. I found this website, thirdtermproject.com, where you can sign up to support Donald Trump's Third Term Project. It's being sponsored by Rep. Andy Ogles, I believe his last name is, who introduced a resolution to amend the 22nd Amendment to allow President Trump to seek a third term. There are links to the details of it all. Congressman Ogles says President Trump's decisive leadership stands in stark contrast to the chaos, suffering, and economic decline Americans have endured over the past 4 years. He has proven himself to be the only figure in modern history capable of reversing our nation's decay and restoring America to greatness. And he must be given the time necessary to accomplish that goal. So you can sign their petition at thirdtermproject.com. And that's for you, my friend. There you go.
Done.
Fan-freaking-tastic. I love it. Oh, that is great. So good. That is so good. All right, so stay tuned. You and Bannon, you're on the same wavelength, pal.
Oh, man, this is fantastic.
I was thinking of you when I saw
Christmas came early, Gene. Thank you.
You got it. So you got something to look forward to with Steve Bannon, see what he's going to do. He alluded to something about the definition of term limit. I think it's pretty well defined in this 22nd Amendment, but hey, stranger things have happened.
Fuck it, we judge shop. We're going to judge shop like them and find somebody who agrees with us. I like it.
All right. Well, with that, it's definitely time to shut this sucker down, in my opinion. How about you, pal?
Gene, shut it down. I'm signing the petition right now, please.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between, thanks for tuning in to Behind Enemy Lines. Please subscribe or follow wherever you are, whether it be on YouTube, on Rumble, on X. Like, share, comment on the video, all the good stuff we normally ask you to do. And until next week when we're back live, we're going to shut this sucker down. So play our motherfucking anthem, people. Good night and God bless.
Not allowed, not without electoral.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear?
Teeth, don't let them have sway. Conservative battalions walking them out, marching through the streets while the buffoons all shout. Move in the shadows, flag on my chest, repping my clan, putting faith to the test. Cause we'll play blues behind enemy lines, fighting for the truth, feels like wartime. Don't back down, keep it rugged and raw, cool in the chaos, but loud in the war. But loud in the war. Our chance. If I ever stand with a smirk in a gaze, holding down the fort in this Democrat case.